What is going on, everybody? Happy Friday. Welcome back to the Phaithful Phanatics Show live here on DSM-Media's YouTube channel. Guys, first and foremost, if you are new to the channel, if you like the content, if you want to be interactive throughout today's show, make sure you smash that subscribe button. It's the best spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up here on the screen with your host. I am one half of them this morning, Dylan Davis. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty. The Sixers passed their test versus the Boston Celtics, improving to an Eastern Conference best record of 6-1. They also take on the Detroit Pistons on the road tonight in some in-season tournament play, Scotty. So we're going to break all of the Boston game down. We're going to talk about tonight's matchup. Does the in-season tournament mean a little bit more to you now that you've seen some of the action play out? And the Phillies back to making some noise. Obviously, the winter meetings were underway with some owners, some managers, Dave Dombrowski talking to reporters. Are they open to trading Nick Castellanos? What's going on with the Resign Nola situation? Rhys Hoskins on his way out the door as Bryce Harper becomes their future first baseman. A lot to dive into, a lot to dissect with the Phillies on this Friday morning, man. But how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. Obviously getting to this fine Friday. Happy birthday to the Marine Corps out there and a few of my friends out there that were also part of that. We got Veterans Day tomorrow, Veterans Day tomorrow, and just want to pay the respects there. But happy Friday, man, end of the work week, and we got some action tonight. I'm excited. Obviously, the Sixers taking the court. My Duke Blue Devils are taking the court in some ranked action against Arizona. So a lot to get back into tonight, and I'm looking forward to it, man. One day before the weekend. So let's break down this big Boston win, and we'll go from there.
First question, do you feel validated, man? Because that's all we wanted. That's all we wanted on the pregame show, was to just be right about this team, for our gut, for our instinct, for our feelings of this team being different to pan out. And listen, it's game 7 of the year. This game is not the end-all, be-all, whether the Sixers had lost it or they come out on top the way they did. But the bottom line is, a win like this just feels like it doesn't come in previous seasons, right? They're 5-1. They get the Celtics in town, up, smack in the face with reality. We take a step backwards and we try to regroup and figure things out from there. The whole team, I thought, for the most part, Scotty, showed up and played well. We could talk about the Anthony Melton's continued struggles, and I'm sure we'll get to him at some point or another. But the bottom line is that it wasn't just the bench that played well. You got 20 points contributing off the bench in limited minutes, right? They all shot the ball very efficiently. They all knew their roles come off the bench. They played well, and they outplayed the Boston bench. That was a key of ours. But another key of ours was, can the Sixers stars, can Maxey, can Embiid, hell, you could throw Tobias Harris in the mix, can they hang in there with Boston starting 5 and then let the depth kind of outplay what Boston could throw out there in Sam Hauser and Luke Cornett and Peyton Pritchard? Well, our starting 5 did not just hang in there with the Boston starting 5. Our starting 5 took it to the Boston starting 5. I mean, Jason Tatum came away with 16 points. He was a -1 in the plus-minus category in 37 minutes, Scotty. I mean, Jaylen Brown hit a clutch 3 at the end where you're like, oh, boy, here we go. Here comes overtime. Jaylen Brown was 4 for 13 with 11 points. Drew Holiday, 12 points on 4 of 9 shooting. Derek White had 19, 6 of 18 shooting, 3 of 11 from three-point land. Meanwhile, 27, 25, 17, 14 from the Sixers starting 5. And that was the difference, man. 1,000%, 16 points for Jason Tatum on 14 shots. The wing depth, everything. We're going to dive into it all. But that was my biggest takeaway, was to see our 3 guys that we wanted to focus on in the starting 5 not shy away from the moment. Joel Embiid was dominant from the opening jump. 27 points doesn't feel like a dominant Joel Embiid night anymore when you see what he can do against the Washington Wizards in 3 quarters. However, his physicality in the paint, the way he was fighting through contact, the way he was playing on the defensive end, Scotty, from minute number 1 through the final minute, was spectacular. Tyrese Maxey did not shoot the ball well at all. Guess what? Found ways to score 25 and found ways to impact the game in other areas. 9 rebounds for Tyrese Maxey, 5 assists, a steal, 2 blocks, only 1 turnover for the kid. Tobias Harris, not his most efficient night, 1 for 4 from 3, 5 for 12 from the floor, 17 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. That's huge, man. Absolutely huge. So my first takeaway is that the Sixers starting 5, outplayed the Boston starting 5, and that wasn't really our vision for the night. Our vision for the night was the depth, right?
Yeah. No, it was as we were talking through the pregame, we kind of came to a revelation that you look at the matchups that the Sixers have across the board, and it kind of makes sense how it all played out. Like, you have a ton of bodies that you can just throw at Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and you really started to see Jaylen Brown's limitations in this game. I mean, that's the worst that I've probably seen him play against the Sixers in reality.
Yep.
And everything that everybody jokes around about with his left hand, he's got a disgusting tool bag, man. And I don't know how he got the biggest contract in NBA history. So that's baffling within itself to me. And I was high on Jaylen Brown at one point.
Yeah.
I wanted him on the Sixers, but yeah, I'm good on that at this point. But yeah, I think what you said is perfect. The starters started it, and you see 4 different guys get into double figures. Obviously, DeAnthony Melton's got to figure it out, but Maxey, even on the 11 for 27 shooting, you want to see him be a little bit better, but at least he keeps his head down. And I think the big thing for Tyrese Maxey as a young man here coming into his own, you got the 9 rebounds, you got the 5 assists, getting your teammates involved, you got the 2 blocks, you're doing it on the defensive end, but he kept his head down. The confidence was still there in the fourth quarter, and he scores 11 points in that fourth quarter to kind of pioneer this Sixers to that double-digit lead, which they almost ended up blowing down the stretch. But nonetheless, he did guide them in the first part of that fourth quarter to gather that lead in order to ultimately hold on to it and win. Embiid, I thought Embiid was great. I think on the offensive end, he could have probably been a little bit better, a little bit more patient, a little bit less flustered, but I still like the energy that he played with. Still dominated on the defensive end. It's the turnovers, though. You just got to clean those up, man.
At the end of the game, he had 2 in 3 possessions, and that's when Boston was making their run. And I was like, dude, don't do this to me.
You just got to take his time sometimes. I think he just gets a little sped up, and it's going to happen. It happens to everybody, but I think next time you see Boston next week, maybe we don't see as many turnovers. He can kind of hone in now that he knows maybe Drew Holiday is going to get thrown at him at times. I think, you look around and you look at the matchups that the Boston Celtics had to throw out there, and you look at Drew Holiday guarding Joel Embiid, and you ask yourself, like, is that sustainable, right? If you had to play that in a 7-game series, are you going to be able to do that for 4 wins? I don't think you're going to be able to do that. Now, they did that, sparingly with Marcus Smart. They're trying to use Drew Holiday in that same role, but it's just it's not the same. And the crazy thing is, man, the way Marcus Smart was playing for the Celtics in that playoff series last year, you could argue that he was better for the Boston Celtics than Drew Holiday is. Like, Drew Holiday just looked like he wasn't even part of the team in reality. Like, there was times where, he would shoot his open shot. He went like 2 for 3 from the 3-point line, but they're not making any efforts to get this guy the ball or get him involved offensively at all. So, it is interesting to see the Boston Celtics this year. And it does feel like the Sixers made a way here as far as confidence, as far as knowing what they are under Nick Nurse. And you see everybody after the game, the full confidence from Pat Bev, just across the board. Guys were talking about what this team could be and what they are right now. And the confidence is there, man.
Some shots thrown too, man. Some shots.
Yeah, it said it's the most feeling of like a team camaraderie.
No one's got an ego on this team.
No one's got an ego. That's the biggest quote of the night there from Embiid. So yeah, man, I loved what I saw here. They dominated the boards 56-43, dominated points in paint, won the fast break points, kept it close turnover wise, 14-13. So they did everything in this game that they could, and it really shows. And if I'm Boston, right? If I'm Milwaukee now, I'm starting to think, what do I got to do to ensure that I'm better than the Philadelphia 76ers, because
Yeah.
right now there's no guarantee with the way that game played out. I get it. You're not going to have a ton of nights where Tatum, only scores 16 points, or Jaylen Brown goes 4 for 11 from the field. Like, you're not going to have a ton of nights like that, but I can guarantee the Sixers have the tools to make it a hell of a night for them each and every time they
1000%.
step on the court against the Sixers. So to that point, do you expect, Kristaps Porzingis to drop 29 on you every time and come out look lights out? So if I'm the Boston Celtics, I don't know. The matchups are not in favor of them as much as they used to be.
Not
And
at all. If we're being honest, the roles are
league,
reversed, man.
That James Harden
1000%
trade
reversed.
changed the landscape. Like, it is actually astonishing looking back on it just a few games in that the Clippers even did this. Like, I know at the time we were sitting here like, man, get the draft comp, and that's going to be the best part of it. You can flip the assets and get like this guy, that guy.
It's not even where my mind is
where
right now.
we're at right now. Like, Batum has been amazing. Like, he's played 2 games. He's been amazing. Robert Covington has been great. Like, that game against Boston is when I saw, okay, this is what Rocco is really all about.
He's pesky, man. Hands in passing lanes. In passing lanes. He plucks you. They pick you up full court, these new guys. I'm loving everything I'm seeing. But you mentioned the matchups being different. First and foremost, I want to talk about the rebounds, right? Because T already was saying Kelly Oubre Jr. with 8 rebounds is huge as well. And I think the way that they were able to outdo Boston in that department was interesting, because it's something Pat Bev talked about on his podcast the day before the Boston matchup with Roan on Barstool Sports, because Roan asked him, what's it going to take to beat this Boston Celtics team? And he said, rebounding. You have to limit them to 1 possession, which is something you and I talked about last night and everything like that. And so for a player to know that and have that mindset, which means it's probably something that this team was focusing on as a whole and talking about, for them to go out there and actually execute in that department is something I feel like is probably different than in years past. But you mentioned the matchups. This was my biggest takeaway from when you watch the game and you look at the numbers. You talk about the trade and you talk about no more Grant Williams, no more why am I drawing a blank on the big fella? Robert Williams. Yeah. And then Al Horford being washed. Dude, Al Horford was a minus 23 in 26 minutes of action last night. 1 for 6 from the floor for 3 points is the best part about it, but a minus 23, a team worse by far. So I say that to say this. We already know Porzingis can't guard Embiid in the starting lineup. Historically hasn't been able to. They showed that to you with their game plan on Wednesday night by throwing their point guard on him. Al Horford can't come off the bench and give Embiid problems anymore, and we damn sure know that Luke Cornett's ass isn't doing anything. He only played 3 minutes because they know they have no size. They have no bodies that can disrupt Joel Embiid. The Sixers come away with a win, and it wasn't even the Joel Embiid show. He deferred in this one. Tyrese Maxey took 7 more shots than he did. He only shot 6 free throws. But they still have no one that can guard the big fella, and that's my biggest takeaway. If you're Boston, you lost this game, and it wasn't a glaring issue that you can't stop Embiid. But what we take away from it is that we know you can't stop Embiid, and he can be 10 times better on a given night against you guys.
And the Sixers overall, man, they just didn't shoot the ball well.
No, Maxey was 11
line. I mean, it was non-existent.
They didn't hit a 3 until what? Like very, very. I think they started 0 for 8, 0 for 9 from 3. They shot 26% from the 3-point line, man.
Maxey was 3 for 11 from the 3-point line. DeAnthony Melton was 1 for 7 from the 3-point line. Yeah. I don't think Oubre had a 3 in this game. So, like,
9
there wasn't a great amount of shooting in this game. No. So, for the Sixers to kind of knock out a gritty win like this against the Boston Celtics is just so uncharacteristic of them. And so, to that point, it does. It gives me validation because This is just not a typical game that the Sixers would pull this out. You saw it towards the end. Boston started hitting everything, and they were making that comeback, and it almost felt like it was happening again. But
dude, I thought for sure that ball was going in, and his nuts just shriveled because my dude threw one on a line at the front of the rim. Knew it was.
I was happy to see KP shoot it over Jason Tatum. Quite honestly, I was happy to see the ball not in Tatum's hands, because even with 16 points, he's still your best player. Like, he's still your best shooter, your best scorer, your best.
We remember what he did obviously last year, and then Embiid hit the full court shot that didn't count. Like,
look at it.
Jason Tatum's the guy you give the ball to in that moment. But
I know this is a Philly podcast. I want to have a real conversation about Boston Celtics, man. And maybe I'm jumping the gun here because of this bench and what we've seen so far. And maybe they're not done adding what they need to. But, like, they lost Malcolm Brogdon, 6th man of the year. They lost Marcus Smart, a significant leader in the locker room. And a pretty good player, let's be honest. I hated him, but he's pretty good. Robert Williams, a great guy that you could throw on Embiid. He rebounds, plays defense, can catch oops.
Shot blocker.
Grant Williams can kind of do it all at the 4 spot, right? He can guard Embiid from time to time, shoot threes, rebound, play good defense. And all they add is Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday. They lose those 4 rotational players, which – sure, Drew is better than Marcus Smart, maybe, right?
Yeah. No, he is.
Drew, let me ask you this. Is Drew better than Malcolm Brogdon? Like,
yeah.
Overall, he's better than Malcolm Brogdon.
Fit's better.
But, like, the fit. Like, Malcolm Brogdon gave us fits. And maybe I'm just looking at it too specifically for the Sixers matchups. But Malcolm Brogdon kind of scares me more than Drew Holiday. Malcolm Brogdon can come in and give you 20 with 4 threes.
Drew Holiday's bag offensively just doesn't scare you anymore.
Good defender, right? But you give up Brogdon and Smart in one off season, right?
Yeah.
You get
Drew Holiday is a very
interesting. Grant.
Drew Holiday is a very interesting player at this point of his career. He's someone that when he was traded to Portland, you and I were texting back and forth like, man, hey, if we could, flip something into Drew, that'd be great. But you sit back and, you really think over the last 2 years since Milwaukee has won that championship and you watch his play and you watch him now in Boston, still a very good defender. We know that, okay?
Yeah,
but in terms of an offensive point guard, he's not even really their point guard. Derek White gets them in their sets. So he's not a facilitator. He's not someone that's going to set up your offense, conduct your offense. He's not he doesn't have the speed or athleticism anymore to really kill you off the bounce, off the dribble, right? And get in the paint. And he's not the world's greatest 3-point shooter. He's probably around league average from the 3-point line. So there is nothing offensively that Drew Holiday brings to the table to scare an opponent's defense, to scare an opponent, right? So when you look at it from that perspective, it'd be one thing if the other night they put Drew Holiday on Tyrese Maxey the entire game.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
And like, he gave Maxey fits. So now this guy you traded for who's supposed to, like you said, fill basically 3 pairs of shoes because of all the guys you got rid of.
Yeah.
This guy is almost a non-threat offensively to us. Almost a non-threat.
Almost, yeah.
And what his greatest strength is, you diminished by putting him on a 7-foot MVP.
Yeah. Yeah. That's Joe Mazzulla, right? Like, I don't know. Something I'm going to keep an eye on as the season goes on, man.
Keep an eye on all of it. The Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
Milwaukee Bucks, back-to-back nights. Almost lose to the Detroit Pistons at home. They were trailing late into the 4th quarter. And then last night, I get it's the second half of back-to-back. Damian Lillard didn't play, but they blow a 10-point lead with 4 or 5 minutes left against the Indiana Pacers, who are a fun, good, young, explosive offensive team. But if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, like you're talking like almost favorites to win the entire thing. You can't blow 10-point leads to a young, inexperienced team like the Pacers.
Yeah.
So when I look at it from that perspective, it's like they're now what, 5-3? They're 5-3 or 6-3.
Yeah, they won the night before and then lost one, so 5-3.
Yeah.
Yep.
Boston's 5. It's
interesting, man.
We're only 7 games in, but
and I'm looking, TR brings up a great point here as far as like Drew guarding Maxey, and nobody can keep up with Maxey. I think that's the overall point. Nobody on that team is keeping up. They tried to do Derek White. They tried to do Jaylen Brown. And we saw Maxey once again in that fourth quarter. You look at him get 11 points in that fourth quarter, and you just think back, man, what if the ball was in his hands last season in the fourth quarters instead of James Harden? And what if he is the guy that can come in and get those clutch buckets next to Joel Embiid if Embiid's getting doubled down the stretch and you need somebody to get you some buckets? Maybe, just maybe, Maxey can be that guy so early in his career. But no, I look around this squad, man. I thought Patrick Beverley gave us some great minutes once again.
Man.
He's just looking like the perfect signing.
5 boards, 4 assists.
Yeah, you can't make that up, man. And this is something I will say with DeAnthony Melton, man. We got to talk about him a little bit here.
Yeah.
Because he was bringing us down to the floor late in this game, brother. And all of a sudden, like, you're watching the game, and I don't know about you, it didn't necessarily feel like it early, like it was one of those DeAnthony Melton games.
No, he hit the first 3 for the Sixers.
You look back, and he's 1 for 9 from the field, 1 for 7 from the 3-point line. And the worst part is like the decisions with the ball in the hands. Some of those shots, some of those layups are
when he gets the ball in transition and tries to take on 4 defenders in the paint and at the rim by himself, man. And I literally want to pull my hair out of my head. Like, I can't continue to watch. I can't stand watching any person, any Sixer player, get the ball in transition and think this is going to be a good idea and I'm going to take it into the chest of 3 or 4 defenders with no teammates around for help, nothing. Like, I get it. You want to push the pace. Maybe you draw a foul, whatever. That's just not a smart basketball play.
You know what he like?
Don't lie.
You know what DeAnthony Melton acts like on a fast break? He acts like he's Jason Tatum. Like, he can just use his body any which way and finish at the rim. Like, you're not like that, bro. Like,
you cannot finish a goddamn bit.
So let me ask you this, honestly, because I think there's 2 parts to this. So I think one part of it is that Nick Nurse needs to recognize when DeAnthony Melton is having one of these games. Like, one thing I've realized since we've had D-Melt here for a year and a half now or so, whenever he is off, he is off. There is no D-Melt coming back into this game and like turning it on at some point. He is completely streaky. If he's hot, he's going to give you 4 or 5 threes. He's going to be nice from the floor that night. If he's off, you're going to get like the worst floor that you've ever seen. And that's what we saw in this game. And I think on Nick Nurse, you have to recognize that. He said at the end of this game, he takes Oubre out, puts Batum in for like purposes of like steadying the ship and being calm and making good decisions. I'd argue you take D-Melt out and you keep Oubre and you keep Batum in. Just let Oubre run that 2 guard. But what I was going to say is, man, Pat Beverly, even in those situations, I would rather see him than D-Melt, just because Pat Bev by no means is like an offensive force at all. But he does not make many mistakes.
Patrick Beverly knows his role to a goddamn T.
To a fucking T, man. It's crazy.
Don't get me wrong. He's pulled a couple threes this year, and none of them have really looked good. But that's when he's like wide open. No one's coming to test. He's like, you know what? I'll pull this. And it's never late in the game. It's never, ever late in the game. To
hold the defense accountable, too, right? As a guard, you got to shoot it just to let them know you will.
Melton, in terms of knowing his role, like, I feel like he does.
Sometimes, man.
But he wants to be involved in the offense. And I'm not blaming him. But dude, when you're not shooting the ball, when you're 1 for 7 at one point in this game and it's the fourth quarter, you don't get to shoot anymore.
Yeah.
You get the ball, you pass the ball.
Yes.
You create for others. Once you're 1 for 7, 1 for 6, whatever the case may be, 0 for 5, you stop shooting.
I would take it this far, man. When you see one of those 3-pointers go over the rim and hit off the other side of the backboard, we have to accept at that point that DeAnthony Melton is not on tonight. Like, I think that is something that has to happen at some point, because when he's good, he's great. when he's
Yeah.
bad, he's horrible. And
Yeah.
I think to that point, Nick Nurse just needs to recognize that a little bit sooner. But
No, I
it
agree.
does lead me to think, maybe there is like that is the one place you may need like an upgrade. Your starting shooting guard, or
Yeah.
maybe switch the starting lineup. We talked about Oubre, right? You mentioned to me that you think Batum should start and just have Oubre come off the bench. And I do agree with that as well. Just to have another ball handler scorer come off the bench. He can be like that 6-man like scoring punch, where Batum is more of like that floor spacer.
Yeah,
Doesn't
just a
need
little
the
bit
ball in
better
his
of a
hand.
role fitter inside the starting five.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, like Kelly Oubre Jr. has looked great in either role, coming off the bench, and he's fit well within the starting five. I just think if you allow Kelly a little bit more freedom to run to run a bench unit a little bit, be the number one or at least number two option to score the ball. Whereas right now he's like a number 4 option to score the ball.
Yeah.
You allow him to do that. Batum is a little bit more of a, I don't know, just glue guy that he's open from 3, he's going to shoot it.
Oubre's been
probably a little bit better defender in Nicholas.
Exactly what I was going to say. Oubre's been solid, but Batum is a great defender. He's got great IQ. He knows where he needs to be on the floor. But what I would say, maybe you don't alter the starting lineup, but for the closing lineup, I'm going Oubre, Batum, Tobias, Embiid.
1,000%. And I do think Nick Nurse has done a really good job of that throughout the first handful of games here this season, where, to your point, like the other night, he probably should have recognized the D-mount issues a little sooner. But to be fair, he only played 29 minutes. The big three played 39, 37.
You want to give confidence to your starter. Like, we know what D-mount can be when he's in a good spot. We just got to get him to that spot and kind of abide accordingly until he gets there. But
in previous games, I've talked about this with you before. Like Kelly Oubre Jr. finished out a game when he was coming off the bench still in the first 3 when DeAnthony Melton didn't have it. Pat Bevis finished the game when DeAnthony Melton didn't have it. So I think he's done a good job from that perspective. But yeah, just like last night, you got to recognize it. Like the one thing, thank God, I joked about this with you yesterday. Like TR, I forget if Martian talked about it, or maybe it was Brett. I forget. The Furcon experience needs to be shut down and over. And he got some run to start the first half on Wednesday night. Only played 3 minutes. And that's what I love about Nick, man. Like, I gave you your opportunity, brother. That was horrifying to watch.
Yes.
So that's what I do love about Nick, is that, he's not unfair. He doesn't have an unfair quick trigger. But if you're not producing in your role when he gives you an opportunity, you're not going to continue to get run throughout that given night.
I agree. Yeah, no, that was beautiful to see, honestly. I'd rather not see Cork at all against Boston, if I'm being honest, but I'll give, Nick Nurse the benefit of the doubt. He needed to see that to believe that, and he certainly saw it and didn't play him again. It's funny. I noticed the 3 minutes from Cork Mods because I was coming out of this game and I wanted to come into the show and ask you the question, like, where does Marcus Morris get minutes? Like, is that even in the plans? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know at this point, because you look at the rotation in this game and I can't complain outside of the Cork Mods 3 minutes. Like, I can't complain.
So are you going to give 3 minutes to Marcus Morris in that spot? Which, don't get me wrong, I would prefer, but when you're just talking bigger picture and you're looking at minutes wise, is that fair?
Like, is Marcus
I don't know.
May give you what Rocco gives you, deflecting passes, getting into defensive lanes, right?
Like maybe instead of Nicholas Batum playing 26 minutes, Nicholas Batum plays 20, 21, and you give
Morris.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how he wants to work that out.
But then that's because then you have 11 guys flowing through in an important game where a lot of possessions matter. It's like, do you want to let guys get a rhythm, or do you want to see if this guy is just starting with a rhythm already? Like, those are the kind of tricky parts of having a team so deep, like the Sixers do. So it is interesting. And, like Marshawn Lynch has said, there's been a lot of talk about Alex Caruso, which I love that idea. I love either of these guys, Tyus Jones, Malcolm Brogdon. I think that's where we are, though. Like, something minimal like that would really spark my interest. I'm not saying like not like pushing or, pounding the table that we don't need OG or a Zach LaVine or something. I'm not
Right.
saying that, but I think
It's
one of these
it's
marginal
become less of a
ads.
need. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
become way less of a need and more of just a maybe luxury. But at the same time, I don't even know if I view it as a luxury anymore because I don't know. We got to get through the next 2 months. Get me through 2 more months of Sixers basketball. Let's
Yeah.
see how this team looks at that point. But my question is, I don't know if that makes you better. I
Yeah.
don't want to go back on our old habits of quote
Yeah.
unquote from Brett Brown star hunting that has
Yeah.
gotten us nowhere. And when you see teams like the Miami Heat with all their undrafted, Caleb Martin and
Yeah.
Duncan Robinson and Gabe Vincent and Max Strus and guys that are just they're role players, man.
Yeah.
And you see them go to an NBA Finals appearance with them. The Denver Nuggets, yeah, they have an
Yeah.
MVP in Jokic. Jamal Murray turns it up. He's an all-star in the playoffs, right? Outside of that, role players. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. are top-tier role players, but
Yeah.
they're still
Still role.
they're not stars, right? Like
Right.
Aaron Gordon, has won a dunk contest. He's
It's
not a
not
star.
it's not out of the realms of possibilities that Tobias Harris can give you like Michael Porter Jr. production in the playoffs. Like, it's not out of the realms of
Right.
possibilities is all I'm saying. I'm not saying that Tobias has lived up to his contract or anything like that, but Michael Porter Jr. is a
No.
role player. He is a
Right.
streaky
So,
shooter. That is what he is.
yeah. So
Aaron Gordon is a rebounding defensive, menace, right?
Yeah.
And so you look around the Sixers, the biggest worry for me with something like that, man, the reason I love the depth as well is like Batum broke his finger, dislocated his finger last game, right? And you didn't have to worry too much within that one game if Batum is going to get back next week, 2 weeks, whatever, right?
Right.
If you trade 2 to 3 of these guys for Zach LaVine,
Right.
with draft compensation, and then Zach LaVine comes and strains his hamstring or strains his calf. Now
Right.
what? Like, now
what happens when Zach LaVine comes here and your backcourt's getting picked on defensively?
Yeah.
Again, I'm not against the LaVine trade at all. I'm just saying, like, you see how this team's flowing and mixing and winning right now.
You really
and
wanna...
it's like, are you better off tinkering with that and bringing in a guy who can get hunted defensively when you watch how great they are defensively right now?
This is the type of thing that you do no matter what, but like, it's not going to happen.
It's not possible, but you want to. The annoying thing is it was in the palm of your hand.
We had it.
Like, he was here. He was here. His mom worked in the building. Like, you could have already had this put together, right?
Yeah.
So
now you give up what, 3 first rounds?
We traded for a dude with an allergy or something. I don't know, and he's not even in the league anymore. Yeah, he was here, man. I want to go back to this comment real quick by Martian Lynch, though.
Yeah.
Because I do want to say, not just Paul. I love the way, going back to Wednesday night, that no one shied away from this game. No one shied away from that team. That team that continues to be in your way. And you would think, and I know all the new depth and all the new pieces, that not everyone here is familiar with what happened last summer, right? But the core guys are Maxey, Embiid, Tobias, Paul Reed, D-Melt. There's guys here that remember what Boston just did to them and has done to them. And that could be a mental hurdle, man.
Yeah.
Like, let's just look at the Phillies and the Braves. Like, that's evident, right? That what the Braves go through with the Phillies is very clear that there's something mental when they have to play the Philadelphia Phillies in the playoffs. The same thing could happen with the Sixers, but it didn't. Yeah. And B didn't shy away. Maxey didn't shoot the ball the best, but he damn sure wasn't hesitant. He wasn't shy. Tobias stayed aggressive and impacted the game. Paul Reed, 4 for 5 from the floor, was involved defensively in limited minutes. And then you add in all the new guys who seemed up to the task. Pat Bev was up to the task. Batum up to the task. Rocco up to the task. That is huge against that team.
Yeah, no, it's huge to say the least. And I just don't really know what else to say about this team right now. They just keep on knocking down barriers and impressing me more and more, man. Honestly, it's honestly crazy to think about where we are at compared to where we were to even just start the season. And there's still room to grow, man. Like Melton can get better.
There's a lot of room
Like
to grow.
Tyrese Maxey is not really shooting the ball well right now, like from the
Right. The
3-point
last
line,
three
like the
three
last
games or
couple
so, he
games.
hasn't shot well from three for the most
So,
part.
I mean, it is interesting. I'm interested to see what these lineups are going to look like tonight. You got a little bit lesser of an opponent, right? So maybe the rotation expands a little bit.
That was very kind of you. A little bit lesser of an opponent. This is the nicest way I've ever seen.
Let me ask you
this. Way I've ever seen a 9.5-point spread be talked about.
Let me ask you this about the play-in tournament. How much weight does this like hold for you? Like
in terms of like as a fan wanting to win it, it does absolutely nothing for me. I could care less about if the Sixers win the in-season tournament. Would it be cool? Yeah, like if they win their group and then they go on and whatever, like those games will mean a little bit more in the regular season. But the thing that I think I actually do like about it, just from an overall fan perspective, is the level of basketball you're getting, because there is money incentives towards it. It's not like these guys are just playing for a meaningless in-season trophy, right? The trophy they care about is in the summer.
Yeah.
But the money is giving them incentive to, not take rest nights, to go all out, to play playoff-esque basketball in those nights. And I think the first night of that, the first full night, every game was competitive. Dude. So from a fan perspective, that does make it more interesting.
I think they should raise the stakes a little bit more. Like not just money incentive, but like maybe the winner of the in-season tournament gets, home court advantage throughout the playoffs, no matter what seed they get from the regular season, right? Like the Sixers win the in-season tournament, but they're the 5 seed, but they get home court advantage against any team they play throughout the postseason. Like that's something that will like I think get fans even more attached to that and wanting to win it. But I do agree. I think it's like not the end of the world. Like if the Sixers get knocked out of the in-season tournament, like I'm not gonna lose any sleep off of that. But if they win it, then we're the in-season champions. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like so, it's like there's no risk there for me. No. And so to that point, it's fun. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the Sixers court looks like. I know they're playing in Detroit tonight, but next Tuesday they play the Pacers. So we'll
this is
a
interesting point. Like. You said you'd rather see like a wild card round series, like in baseball, where when you play that team in the in-season tournament, it's like they play next week. They play the Pacers for 2 at home. If you just added on a game, then it would be interesting with the schedule because obviously some teams you only play 3 or 4 times in the year. So how many do you want to bunch them all up together?
The Sixers should win their group. Like if they take it serious, like I mean, you should take it serious. You should take every game serious.
Who's the second best team in our group? Atlanta. I forget who our group is.
Atlanta or the Cavs. I mean, you got the Cavs, the Hawks, Pistons, and Pacers. So
the
Pacers are tough. They're looking a lot better. I will say they score the fucking rock. But I would say the Sixers should win their group, but we've seen worse happen. So
and before we move on, obviously we do have some Phillies talk to get to with all of the offseason rumors starting to spiral around. Get our thoughts on that, guys. Don't forget, feel free to drop your comments and your thoughts as well. Subscribe to the channel, so on, so forth. But I do love that tonight is an in-season tournament game.
Yeah.
Following that Boston game, you're traveling, you're going to Detroit. This would feel like a letdown spot, right? Yeah. Where you're looking, you're kind of looking beyond them, or you're still kind of on a high from what you just did against the Celtics, that you're not really focused on the Detroit Pistons. Since this becomes that meaningful, money incentivized type of game here, you should get the Sixers best, and the Sixers best has them at a 9.5-point favorite right now against the Detroit Pistons. So on the road. So I'm glad that this is an in-season tournament for that reason specifically as well. Then they come home, they get 3 in a row at least. They get Pacers, Boston again next Wednesday. So Yeah, he said the old Sixers would punt this game.
Hell yeah. You already know, man.
Yeah, they
you
would.
already know. But to be fair, the old Sixers just wouldn't have won on Wednesday, so they would have took their revenge out.
That's true. That's true.
Either way, but no, you guys are spot on with that, man. I'm hoping to go to that Pacers game next Tuesday, the in-season tournament game next Tuesday. So tickets are pretty cheap. And I'll get to see the Sixers' ugly court. So I figured that would be a cool experience. So that's what I'm looking at. So yeah, I'm excited for this next stretch. I'm excited for the Sixers. This ain't even about a stretch. I don't even care about it.
It's at a point now, dude, where it's like you're just
fun, man.
Like, you know how we talk about with baseball when the Phillies come back, and obviously, you know, you had the long layoff of the all season, but when the Phillies come back, there's just that comfort of they're on every night. You sit back, relax, watch the Phillies game, whatever.
Every night.
It's like it's not a sit back, relax because there's obviously half of a season from the baseball season, and games mean a little bit more, and et cetera. It's a little bit more intense, high, faster pace, obviously, but. I'm at the point where like I can't wait to watch the Sixers each and every night, regardless of opponent. Like the Washington Wizards tonight, the Detroit, regardless of opponent, I can't wait to watch the Sixers game tonight.
Yeah, and I do agree with what you said.
It's a month ago, I had no interest in watching this team play a basketball game.
Exactly. And I do agree with what you said earlier. It's like, a game against the Pistons may not even be exciting, you know, in the past, but at least it's in season tournament. Like, the Pistons are going to come out and give you their best shot. I don't know what that looks like, but they played some teams closer this year.
I just said they had a lead against the Bucks in the fourth quarter in Milwaukee. So
they've had some tough competition so far this year. They played the Warriors, the Bucks, Suns, Pelicans. So
that's
2-7. Pretty
hard
tough schedule. Yeah.
Tough.
Lost 120 to 109 to the Warriors, 120 to 118 to the Bucks, 120 to 106.
Oh, they like giving up 120.
Right. That is a trend, right? 125 to the Pelicans. Yeah. So last 4 games, they've given up 120 plus points.
Yeah, I wonder what the Sixers team totals
something to look at there.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see, man.
No keys to victory for this one, though. Just win.
Yeah, no, this is not a game where I got to, you know. Let's break this one down. What do the Sixers got to do? It's pretty evident. I think it's pretty evident. Just don't shit the bed. Just don't shoot 19% from 3 and Embiid getting fouled. Nothing. Just go be better than them. That's all I have to tell you guys.
Marshawn Lynch, you are not wrong, bro. Oh my God. They I wonder if they're giving out like seizure warnings for that court, man, because those courts are wild.
They're rough.
The all yellow shit, that is disgusting work right there, man. I forget who had that court, but
we have red, bro. I don't know how to feel about the red.
Red, I heard it's like bright red with like a navy blue, like I guess for the city edition jerseys, but that's bright red, man. I saw. Was the Bulls court red like that?
Yeah. There's a couple that are kind of similar in color, right? But it's going to be a rough watch probably. But
you know what it reminds me of, man? It's that 2K influence, NBA 2K, like those like pro AM, like online tournaments and stuff online.
I remember when Boise State football team had a blue field. I don't know if they still do. They might have.
Fucking weird.
But Boise State had a full blue football field, and I just remember being like, "What?" Like they were the only ones. It was like, "What? What are we doing?"
Blue and orange.
And now you head over to the hardwood, and each team has just bright ass colors.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't know.
You off the screen, man.
I wish ours was blue. Like, not that I like any of them. But like the Thunder's like blue. I thought it was like cool. Now, obviously, color wise, it wouldn't really make sense. But like, I feel we could have used like our like navy blue. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if that worked. But
navy blue,
whatever.
Navy blue would make the most sense.
Yeah,
but it would be too bland for what the NBA.
What about white?
For, I feel like.
What about like all white? Like not like you know what I mean?
With like red
all white
line.
with the red and navy blue on it.
That could work. That would be nice, man.
Yeah, except we're stuck with bright red, but that's just
bright red.
Great.
Be like red and gray or
something.
something.
Can't wait to take that in, soak it in.
Yeah, it'll be.
Speaking of red, let's get to the pinstripes to wrap up this show, man. I thought we were going to have a longer layoff, talking or not talking Phillies on the morning show here, but we have to because there is just too much going on, too many rumors. too many tweets, articles, interviews being posted around social media about this Phillies team. First and foremost, let's get the probably easiest news off the board. That is that Bryce Harper talked with Dave Dombrowski. He is the Phillies' first baseman of the future starting now. So Rhys Hoskins, most likely 99.9% gone, which some Phillies fans are taking harder than others. Obviously, it does suck to see, and I'll never forget that bat spike against Spencer Strider and all the clutch home runs he hit in the NLCS against the Padres, and he was a huge part of that run, man. And just obviously, it feels like Rhys came in right when the Phillies started to turn things around, and that's not necessarily playoff baseball. It's still years off from when they started making the playoffs 2 years ago. But he started to become a bright spot of this organization where, okay, they're starting to put something together. And then Bryce comes in and McCutchen and so JT and so on and so forth. And you start to put together this roster. But I would say for the people that are taking it extremely harsh, what are we doing? I mean, seriously, what if we already have an issue in this lineup with streaky power hitters, the same reason we've been knocked out of the postseason late for back-to-back years? Why are you acting like Rhys Hoskins is just this perfect fit in this lineup? He's a leader. He's a glue guy. I said it. I'll never forget some of the moments he created in the postseason last year. But there's just no room for him here. I mean, even in the World Series run, we literally had to have conversations about, can you win a World Series with his play at first base defensively? He was a minus in the field at first base. You get Bryce Harper. Now, is Bryce just a clean product at first? No, he's brand new to it. But I promise you, his work ethic and his athleticism and just being the baseball player that Bryce Harper is, he's going to fit like a glove at first base over the coming years. So first, piece of business here. Goodbye, Rhys. I'll miss you. But people got to relax, man.
I won't lie to you, man. Rhys is honestly, he might be my favorite Philly. And I know that that sounds crazy. It sounds crazy when you have Bryce Harper and all these stars on the team. But it's like you said at the beginning there. It feels like he kind of started the trend or made it approachable or even believable that, the Phillies could turn into what they are in this day and age. And what I'll say, I'm not going to go and overreact over it. At the end of the day, you're right. It doesn't fit. It doesn't make a ton of sense. If they ultimately lean towards bringing him back, if they were doing that, would I be, mad about it? No, I wouldn't. I would be ecstatic. I love the guy.
Rotational, I don't know.
It doesn't make sense, though. At the end of the day, it doesn't make sense for the price point that he's going to be at to bring him back into this roster. So, I would just say farewell to Rhys. Hopefully he gets a bag from somebody else, makes a good career of it the rest of the way. And, the crazy and surreal part of it for me with Rhys, and not only him, but Aaron Nola too, is like, if both of these guys end up leaving this offseason,
it's going to be weird.
It's going to be really weird. I will say that. It's not a bad thing. It is what it is. It's a business. It's the way the world works. But it would be really weird as like those two like homestanding Phillies, right? Those guys that have been through the gutter with the Phils. So at the end of the day, Nola's the first priority, and good luck to Rhys, man. Good luck to him. But
no, good luck.
No need to overreact though.
No, that's my biggest point is, does it suck? Does it kind of hurt? Yeah. But to like, I guess my point is like from the
made it to the NLCS without him.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Do you want to win, or do you just want to be attached to players?
Yeah, exactly.
Me being a fan, I want to win a World Series. And I'm not saying that Rhys Hoskins doesn't help you win a World Series, but there's simply just not a spot for him anymore. So I'm not going to be all down and out because Rhys Hoskins has to move on.
It's like TJ McConnell.
Right.
You want to keep him. Everybody loves him. He works so hard. He's the Philly guy.
Yeah.
but he
Right.
doesn't fit. It's time to
No.
go.
Correct.
So, no, I'm just kidding. Maybe Rhys is a little bit better than TJ
Yeah.
McConnell, but
From a talent perspective, Reese
that was a little
might
joke
leaps
for
and
you. I
bounds,
know
but
that's kind of an inside joke. I know you're not a big TJ guy, so
no. Get
uh,
back on the sideline with your pom-poms, TJ. Can't stand it. Just
so what do you think about the rumors of Nola? What are our
yeah.
thoughts there?
Yeah. So mentioned this to you yesterday a little bit. I'm not again, we have to watch the offseason unfold. And I have seen, I'm not going to mention names because I don't even feel like getting into it with the person, but I have seen someone tweet about how this Phillies team is going nowhere. And this offseason is off to a horrible start. And someone, our friend Mark actually commented back to him and was like, brother, basically like, brother, you do know like nothing has happened yet, like for anybody.
I'm so
And
confused.
he was like, that's not the point, Reese. And I'm just like, oh, all right. So, yeah. So again, we have to watch this. We have to watch how the start of this offseason unfolds and what the money's looking like and everything. But what I will say is I'm not understanding the and or part of the Aaron Nola conversation when it comes to other pitchers the Phillies could and should be targeting this offseason. Guys like Blake Snell. And maybe Blake Snell carries a little bit more weight than the next guy and a little bit heavier of a bag than Sonny Gray, who had like a 2.87 ERA starting last year for the Twins on a 1-year deal. The reports are coming out that, yeah, they were looking into Snell, and now a report came out 2 days ago that if the Phillies do move on from Aaron Nola, they are expected to heavily pursue Sonny Gray. And my question is, why is that or? Why is it Aaron Nola or Sonny Gray? Why is it not both? Because if you're not making a move in the lineup department, right, which is where more of the heavy money comes from, right, is where if you go down our roster, the 27, 25, 20 mil, that's all bats, right? Wheeler's our highest paid guy. The rest of the guys are in the mid-teens, like stuff like that. So when you look at it from that perspective, pitching costs a little bit less than a lineup. If you're not really improving the lineup, and we'll get to the other rumor in a little bit, but that has nothing to do with adding money, right? That has to do with taking away money. And bullpen, if you're not going after Josh Hader, who's going to cost the most in the bullpen, if you're just plugging pieces in the bullpen, that's not going to cost you a lot. So, like, my question is, my point about why is it or is, are we just going quiet this offseason?
Right.
Like, if your offseason, if your focus is to just re-sign Aaron Nola, and then we're going to plug in a couple new bullpen pieces, well, the Philadelphia Phillies are not a better team than they were last year.
Yeah, that's my problem with the
and can you not afford Aaron Nola and Sonny Gray?
Because the way you get better is by adding to what you had on the roster. So by replacing Nola with somebody who maybe isn't even as good as Nola, when you're talking about guys like Blake Snell or even a Corbin Burns, right? Those type of guys. Maybe they're not even better than Aaron Nola, and you're just going to add one of them. Like, it would be one thing if Aaron Nola walks, you're adding two, right? Like, you're going after two of these guys, or you're going after Aaron Nola and one of these guys. But I don't understand why it has to be like an either or type of thing when you're trying to make the roster better.
Dude, we're not sitting here talking.
The way they use Ranger and even Christopher Sanchez down the stretch, it's like, why not just combine them into your fourth starters, right? You just make that the bullpen game, and then you have 3 starting games in those 7-game series.
Exactly, because in the postseason, you need 3.
You're not letting Ranger go.
If you have more, that's great. Except Rob decided to use 2, and then everybody else was a game-to-game type of scenario, even Ranger Suarez, which didn't make sense. So to me, if you bring back Aaron Nola, why does the line stop there? How are you a better baseball team? And I would say this for all the people out there that are negative, and I hear your point about are they even better? And no, we can't replace Nolan with Blake Snell. Listen, Blake Snell hasn't won anything right in San Diego. I get that. You guys do know Blake Snell is a Cy Young candidate, right? What was Aaron Nola's ERA this year? A 4.2. So, and then you get to the postseason talk, which is where he's been great. We talk about the last 2 postseasons, and he has. He starts off the postseason phenomenal. But then something happens, just like in the regular season. Aaron last year was rock solid in his wild card performance against the Cardinals. He was rock solid against game 3 against Atlanta. And he was good, I believe, in the first. No. He pitched game 2 against San Diego. So he was good in the first 2 rounds. He was awful in the NLCS, and he wasn't good in the World Series. Yeah. This year, great against the Marlins in the wild card. Great against the Braves in that series. Good against his first start against Arizona. Horrible in game 6 when it meant the most against Arizona. So I don't even know where to hold Aaron Nola's standard, because we want to sit here and say, well, he has an up and down regular season, but that's okay because of what he brings in the postseason. But it's not a consistent postseason either, because there's always a moment or two over the last 2 postseasons where he has an Aaron Nola meltdown.
And that's the thing with Snell is like, it's the innings, right? That's the concern with him. He doesn't, go a bunch of innings. He doesn't go into the 6th and the 7th. And it's like, if you're having a meltdown by Aaron Nola, then you're not getting to the 6th and the 7th regardless.
I'm real glad Aaron Nola got us through 4.
Let me ask you this, though. So out of these guys, so I have a list of guys that may not be available. We'll see how the offseason plays out. Of these guys, who do you think would be, 1, the perfect fit for Philly, and then 2, maybe even be able to either replace Nola or maybe even, I guess, well, let me ask you this. You're not bringing Nola back and bringing somebody else in if that somebody else is going to be a number 2, right? Nola has to be your number 2.
I think you just make that person a number 3, but I think I think Sonny Gray is a legitimate number 2, but would fit like a glove as a 3 here.
And you just let Nola at 2 just for like his confidence, right? Like you don't want to.
And it kind of gives some safety from a game-to-game situation, right? Where it's Wheeler, Nola, and then if that's guy Sonny Gray, then great.
So some of the names I've seen floated around, Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
Yeah, I don't know anything about him. I've heard just
around.
Ridiculous things and numbers about him, and I don't even know if the Phillies have a chance of getting him. I'm going to say they don't. But
so that was the first name. So you mentioned Sonny Gray, Blake Snell. What about a guy like Jordan Montgomery?
Yeah, I mean, if we want to give credit to Aaron Nola for how he bounces back in the postseason compared to what he does in the regular season, I mean, Jordan Montgomery is just on another. Like, you just watched Jordan Montgomery help come in and win a Texas Rangers team a World Series.
Exactly. But how much is that going to cost you?
Right.
That's probably a Nola replacement. That's not a Nola add-on, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Corbin Burns. I know Marshawn Lynch said hell no to Corbin Burns. How do you feel about a guy like Corbin Burns?
Corbin Burns' upside is Cy Young level. Corbin Burns' upside is higher than Aaron Nola's upside. Corbin Burns' upside is 8 innings strong, 2 hits, no runs, whatever the case may be. But there's Corbin Burns' injury concern. There's Corbin Burns' meltdown concern. Yeah. He's never pitched in a big moment. So, yeah, I mean, Corbin Burns would be a guy that, like, if you re-sign Nola and could trade for Corbin Burns and he was your 3, I have no problem with that. I'm not screaming no at that. But Corbin Burns as your 2 replacing Nola, probably not.
So who out of those guys would you say? Would it be Blake Snell? Would that be your ideal addition?
Yeah, I do. It has to be. I love that people just snark at it and, talk about the innings pitched like you said. I mean, Scotty, this dude was unbelievable this year. First of all, he had a 14-9 record, right? With a severely underachieving roster. Severely underachieving, and he still won 14 games. So that should tell you a lot about what he provides on the mound for a team that didn't even make the postseason. He had the best ERA in baseball. 2.25.
ERA.
You guys want to know why he doesn't throw into the 6th and 7th inning. And I'm not saying it's a great thing, right? That's because he's busy striking out the 3rd most batters in the league. Struck out 234. Now, he does walk a lot, which would drive us crazy here in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that last year, out of the however many guys he walked, literally over 100 walks, I believe, only 3 guys came around to score, Scotty. So that's part of his innings problem. He strikes out a lot of guys, which takes what? Pitches. He walks guys and then fights through traffic to get out of jams. So that takes what? Pitches. Now, obviously, you take the good and bad, and you kind of balance that out and say, well, what would you prefer? Do you prefer way less Ks and way less walks, but a guy can get through 6? But guess what? He doesn't have a 2.25 ERA.
Right.
So I think it's incredibly silly to just snark at the idea of Blake Snell being here. The year before, right, when they went to the postseason, he had a 3.3 ERA, right? Like, he struck out 170 plus batters the last 3 years. Obviously, the high of 234 last year. He walked 99 guys, 99 guys this year. However, the year before, he walked 51. So it's not like this is a career issue that Blake Snell had.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at here as well. Doesn't look like something that's like consistently happening.
Yeah.
So when you look at Blake Snell, would you rather add to like your starting pitching, or would you rather add a guy like Josh Hader? Like, where would you rather?
That's a great discussion, because Josh Hader is probably the game's best closer still. Comes out, like, that gives you a legitimate. You do not have to play around with it. You don't have to miss it. Josh Hader comes out in the 9th inning. That's when Josh Hader pitches for the Philadelphia Phillies. He's your solidified closer no matter what. I don't think Painter is pitching this year. I don't think Painter is expected to come back until next season. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's 2025 is when Andrew Painter is expected to pitch.
Do you feel
Abel is the one that's rumored to possibly be called up this year, which, kind of rolling the dice, but, with the upside, you're hoping that the kid can pan out.
How do you feel about like the star hunting? Like, are you done with the star hunting if you're the Phillies?
No, I think it's incredibly different. We just had a conversation about star hunting and fitting your role with the Sixers, but the Sixers star hunting never got them past the 2nd round of the postseason.
Fair enough.
The Phillies star hunting has got them to a World Series in Game 7 of an NLCS, which they hosted. So, like, no, the star hunting is working out just fine in Philadelphia. They just haven't sealed the deal quite yet. You know what I mean?
Ohtani, Trout, Soto.
Well, they're not getting Ohtani.
Yeah,
they have no shot at Ohtani.
Not obtainable.
Trout's the one, right, that would have to come via trade. I cannot see Mike Trout not wanting to come here, especially if Ohtani leaves. Mike Trout has to 1,000% one out. Yes, he comes with a heavy injury concern, and he comes with a heavy price tag. The dude's getting $37 million per year, dude, on every year for the remainder of his contract. Like, dude, that's $12 million more dollars than Bryce Harper makes per year. $12 million more dollars than Trey Turner's making per year. So it comes with a ridiculous bag. And yes, I get the injury concern. And yeah, I know for all the people out there, well, what has he done in the postseason? He is our generation's greatest baseball player. By far. Yes, you trade for Mike Trout if it's a possibility.
And I mean, if you're paying the guy, the next 7 years,
he's
gonna be at every Eagles home game.
I mean, dude, let's talk about it. There's injury concern. Like, here's the thing, though. Everyone wants to talk about Trout's injury concern. He just gets shut down all the time over his injuries because the Angels just
don't compete. Yeah,
and they can't compete. Whereas, like, dude, almost every year since he's been here, Bryce Harper has missed months. Obviously, got Tommy. Like, Bryce Harper hit in the face, missed a month and a half. Like, Bryce Harper has been just as injured, except the Phillies have continued to compete, so he comes back. Yeah, Trout has had some actual injury-ending stuff, surgery type of issues, but he's also had things where Mike Trout could probably come back. It's
Yeah.
just, well, the Angels are a train wreck, so no reason to do that, right?
So is that like
It's a
a
pipe
move you
dream.
make?
It's a, dude, I mean, if
You have to
you
trade Casty before that, right? Or trade him in that deal?
probably, yeah, before it, in it, whatever the case may be, is part of it. I don't know. You
Yeah.
know, it would be just an overall blockbuster type of trade. I don't even know what the Angels would be asking in terms of prospects, in terms of young talent we already have up. I just, man, I mean, you want to talk about a lineup, even the Phillies
Yeah.
the last 2 years have continued to add to this lineup.
The
And
World
every year
Baseball Classic lineup.
man, think about this lineup 1 through 9. Do you add Mike Trout to this and you don't really dilute it? Let's just say
Yeah.
Costy's gone and Mike Trout's in.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me?
It's literally the USA team, dog.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally what it would be. So, yeah,
I mean,
it's interesting to think
I don't
about.
foresee it happening.
I think you need to, like, when I'm looking at the lineup, there's two things that I look at that I feel like needs to change. Obviously, Rojas isn't going to be your everyday starter at center field. I think that's the first thing. You're probably going to have to move Marsh back unless you do bring in a center fielder or left field or something like that.
Right.
But I do think they need to upgrade either Cassie or Bohm, man. I think one of those guys needs to be upgraded. I know Bohm's like the younger guy there.
Yeah, I think Bohm's safe. I think Costi, obviously, Dombrowski's already talked about it. He's the name floating around. He's the guy you have to move. He's making, first of all, you want to talk money. Bohm's not making money yet.
Right. Bohm can get you contact too. I think that's like the big
Costi's
thing.
Making $20 million per year. Let me set the record straight. And I think you agree. We talked about this yesterday privately.
Yeah.
We're not banging the drum to trade Nick Castellanos. Like, I am fine if Nick Castellanos comes back, but I understand why they're open to moving him. And if they can move him to open up money or move him for whatever that can help this team get better or more consistent, you 1000% do it. Yeah, there were inconsistencies all over this lineup. Trey Turner shut down. We know Kyle Schwarber is a 200 average, but hits just moonshots of home runs, right? Bohm was inconsistent. Hell, Harper got inconsistent over the last 3 games. But what was our takeaway from all the inconsistency? Like, yeah, that guy, blah, 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 that can't happen. But Nick Castellanos that needs to be observed in a lab. What just happened to him.
It was absurd. Like,
and you take that into account with the full first season.
Yeah.
In 2 years of Nick Castellanos,
he reverted right back to that first season.
Yeah, we've gotten in 2 years, let's just say, how many months of baseball do they play? Let's 6 months total,
March,
right?
April through October.
April through October for the most part. April, May, June, July, August, September, October. It's more than that. So 7 months of baseball, 6 months of baseball. So total 12 to 14 months of baseball we've gotten from Nick Castellanos. We've gotten 3 good months, 4 good months, maybe. I mean, that's $20 million a year.
When you look at it that way, and you said this to me yesterday, and it resonated very heavily. It's like you paid this guy all this money to come in and be your number 4.
You paid him to protect Bryce. You paid him to be number 4, and he has not been able to do that.
Not doing anything close to that. Like he's
because when you look back on this postseason, Scotty, with the way that Bohm was heading into the postseason, the RBI leader, right? When you look at what Nick had been doing in the 7-hole and that power, for a second you sit there in the moment, you get caught up and say, "Wow, look at the versatility, look at the depth of this lineup."
Look at our
Castellanos is hitting 7th,
cranking home runs. Yeah.
The issue is he was hitting 7th because he wasn't producing, and now you've put someone in the cleanup hole who shouldn't be in the cleanup hole, and then he started to struggle. Alec Bohm should never back cleanup for this Phillies team. Never.
It's a lot of pressure on Alec Bohm when you think about it in hindsight, right? Like that's
because
a lot of
Costi wasn't doing his job. Then he starts to do his job, but what happens? You don't want to tinker it because we're already in the NLDS. You don't want to move it around.
Right. And
whereas if he would have been doing his job in August and September, Castellanos would have been hitting into the postseason.
And that's the thing. It's like in that moment, and once again, hindsight 2020 always. But in that moment, when you're in the NLCS or even against the Braves, you're asking yourself, Bohm is struggling. Do we move Costi back into the 4-hole? And just imagine if you would have, like, not that it would have changed anything, and maybe it would have, sparked something. I don't know, but imagine him giving you the performance that he's giving you at the 7-hole, but in the 4-hole. So, like, yeah, it honestly, man, outside, it's like this. It's almost the same thing as Rhys Hoskins to me.
Yeah,
like. Love Nick Castellanos. Love him as a character.
Love the
in
swagger.
Philadelphia.
Love when he's
Like,
popping
love
home
his
runs
son
and
out there, just raging while he cranks a home run in CBP. Like,
yeah,
love his family and the interaction they give on social media, all of that. But what is best for the Phillies team? And I don't know if you could
Now,
just get
again,
a
the
guy
reason
that
we're not
maybe,
banging the drum for it is because we do know the upside of Costi when he's going. And if it's not going to make you better, you're not just trading Nick
you
Castellanos to
don't do it to
trade Nick
just do it.
Castellanos, right?
You don't break
But
this team up just to do it.
yes,
Like, you have to
but
make them better.
if you're able, I don't think, and here's the thing that people are going to get upset by. I don't think a potential Nick Castellanos trade is bringing much in. I think the point of a Nick Castellanos trade is going to open up $20 million.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. And then they're going to use that elsewhere. And then that fills that hole of Nick. And maybe it doesn't fill the hole of Nick. Maybe it doesn't fill right field specifically. But maybe that $20 million brings back Aaron Nola and signs Sonny Gray or something like that. You know what I mean?
And for that,
but then you sign a bat, a 280 average bat for less power out in the outfield or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
They'll figure it out, man. I would say that to Phillies fans. Over the last 2 years. What's up?
Trust him. Trust Dombrowski.
Trust
that
Middleton
is
the
going to
money.
spend the money. Like,
I agree.
We have nothing to worry. This isn't God
here's the
you
thing.
know what I mean? This isn't
Here's
Daryl Morey.
Trey Turner is here for 9 more years. Kyle Schwarber's here for 3 more years. Bryce Harper is here for what? 6 more years, 7, whatever the case may be. Like, they're not just going to stop now because they haven't finished the job in 2 seasons.
Yeah.
When they've been so close. They're not just going to stop now. So, like, while I am slightly, like, kind of taken back, like, why is it Nola or? Like, why aren't you, like, you should be willing to spend the money for another pitcher with Nola.
Yeah.
I do trust that they'll still be a better ball club than they were to end the season. And that's all you can ask for, right? Like, they lost in the World Series, but then what? A month and a half later, we felt rejuvenated. Why? Because they're a better ball club. Because Trey Turner's a Philadelphia Philly, right?
Yeah.
It's the same trust I have. All right, disappointing end to the year. You lose in the NLCS. I'm down and out. But in a month from now, a month and a half from now, they could be a better ball club, and I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I think we just got to be patient, man. I think anybody, like, the comment, I didn't see those tweets, like, or whatever that those comments came from that you were discussing at the beginning of this Phillies segment, but to, like, overreact, dog, like, nothing has happened yet. Nobody is even officially, like, a free agent, like, let go. So, like, relax. Like, honestly, what have the Phillies done in the last couple of years that make you not, like, relax and trust what they're going to do in the offseason?
I'm trying to find the initial tweet, just so I know.
I saw this, just side note, I saw this, like, tweet. I think it was Phil that retweeted it. And it was, like, a projected lineup for the Phillies for 2027. I was just like, is this really what we do? Like, they don't do this with any other sport. Like, is that really something we need to look at?
Was like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah, like, what the fuck? Like, 2027? Like, how can you even predict it like that? But I get it. You got guys in the lower levels.
And then I just love people that think, like, again, dude, I'm not trying to bash people. I'm not talking behind people's back. They can come on here and we can discuss it. But, like, people are like, if they don't bring back Nola, they need to bring in Yamamoto. What the fuck do you know about Yamamoto? I'm not saying the dude's not going to come in here and be, the next big thing, right? The same thing with Ohtani. No one, but I mean, come on, dude. Like, let's just stop.
Didn't you see his ERA in the World Baseball Classic?
No.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I just saw a bunch of these graphics floating around, and I have seen tweets like that about.
I
let
love
me make
when
sure I'm
dudes
pronouncing the name
I
correct.
just remember talking to you about people
Yamamoto.
in the off season that were talking about Sixers G League players that need to get action this year. But they're those guys are the difference makers in the Sixers getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. Are you kidding me, man?
The Isaiah Joes. Do wish we had Isaiah Joes
Idiotic.
still, but
Yeah,
no.
well, in hindsight, he'd be
Hindsight.
awesome here.
But
Thank you, Doc.
no, that's funny, man.
Yamamoto.
Yamamoto.
Listen. I've heard the same thing as everyone else. And if they go out and sign him, I'll be excited. And let's see
for that?
what happens. He could be your next ace. I don't know, but the people that are out there like they need Yamamoto. What do you know about? Have you watched Yamamoto pitch outside of YouTube highlights? Can I tell you the answer to that question? No, you haven't. So just stop. But those same people, those same people that want Yamamoto, that know nothing about him, never seen him pitch a live game, are the same people. I don't want Blake Snell.
No to Blake
I don't
Snell.
want the strikeout. I don't want the NL Cy Young. Okay, so we don't want the guy that's done it in the MLB, but we want the unknown Japanese superstar or Korean superstar.
I swear they just think that it's going to be like the next Ohtani.
Oh, yeah.
I swear that's like where the hype train comes from.
He could be. He could be.
It could be, though. It could be.
But you don't know. And not to mention, the same reason that they have all this hype, this dude's going to get a bag.
Exactly. That's my thing.
And is going to give him a bag.
The funny thing that I feel like people just don't take into account with like Asian players is the fact of how close the Western coast is to Asia and how close that is to their homeland and how much that means. So like when all those rumors were circulating around the trade deadline around Ohtani, it just
and the Yankees, it's just not happening.
It's a pipe dream. It's like it's great to dream about, but like he would be much better off staying in LA and the Dodgers, the Padres, whatever you want to do. Anything over there. So
they're not. Yeah, he's not doing that, and that's where I would look for Yamamoto. Like everyone always throws the Yankees in there, and I get it that they spend big. They're the money. They're the fate. They're the Yankees are MLB's organization. Like they are right. Like that's what when you think MLB team, you think New York Yankees, right? Yeah. But it just hasn't been that way for the last couple of years, right? For the last decent amount of time. So like every year they get thrown in the running for this person and that, and it just never happens. They're like, shucks. But then they had the balls to say they never even, wanted Bryce Harper, and they never called Bryce Harper. You guys are smart. You guys are really intelligent over there.
Good on y'all for doing that.
The Yankees have also come out and said that bunting is becoming a bigger key in baseball. So you're going to see a lot more of bunting from the Yankees offense.
That's fun.
That's a real quote. So, all right.
Good luck to them.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, everybody.
That's going to wrap up.
Everything's going to be all right, though, Phillies fans.
Do the Sixers win tonight?
Yes. I hope so.
Do they cover the spread?
That is a great question. I think it could be maybe tight through three quarters just because they are coming off the big win against Boston. And then, maybe halfway through the third quarter, they start to really pull it away. Maybe we don't see Joel for another fourth quarter. I would say that. But, yeah, I think they do cover at the end.
Yeah. No, I agree. Do I lay my money on it? Laying my money on a double-digit victory is not something I like to do. I'll have to find something else to do. But then this is the issue with these games, right? Like I said, I'm excited to watch them. But when it comes to my gambling, I can't even feel confident in a Joel Embiid over points, rebounds, assists, because what happens if he only plays three quarters?
Might not play, man. That's the biggest thing.
You know what I mean?
The one guy's props that I do like right now is
Anthony Melton.
I like to fuck. But to be fair, this would be the night where he hits 5 threes, right?
Oh, yeah.
A horrible night.
Oh, yeah. 13 points.
I love Tobias's props right now. I feel like they're still relatively low, and obtainable within 3 quarters.
Yeah.
He usually doesn't score that much in the fourth quarter, anyways. If that's, I think that's what I'm getting at. But
Former team too, for where he got to start, right, with Detroit.
Yeah. So maybe he has a night, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if I'm putting too much money into this one. But
No. I have to look around the rest of
got
the
the
slate.
Big Duke matchup. I'm just gonna lay Duke.
Yeah, I know, but
throw all my money on it.
I was gonna. The issue is I don't love a 6-point spread
6-point
between
spread.
a two borderline top 10 team. Like I know Duke's,
Yeah.
it's in Cameron. They're number 2 team in the country heading into the year. I believe they're gonna win, and I know 6 isn't like an outrageous number, but when you think about 2 versus 12, 6 seems like
it's a widespread. I'm laying it, but I feel you. If I wasn't a Duke fan, would I lay it? I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a little bias involved there, but
spread,
it's not a 10-point spread for the Sixers in the NBA, so I'm comfortable with it. Like I know Duke is gonna go all out and play tonight. So yeah, we'll see, man. It's a good one to kick off the college basketball season for me, but
took my first L in college basketball last night. I was undefeated to start the year. I was 4-0 to start the college basketball year. I had New Mexico altered it to +9 against St. Mary's. Never a game. Never. They lost by 14, so it wasn't all that bad. But like, I mean, like you just know, like when you lay a team +9, you have no faith that they're gonna like upset and win for the most part. It's just like, can they stay within like 5 the entire game and like keep it there? Off the jump, it was 11-2 St. Mary's, and I was already at the edge of my spread. And I'm like, well, this one is not working out. So
the only thing I cashed last night was you'll think I'm crazy because I put money into that shitty football game. But Deontay Foreman touchdown is the only thing that cash.
I had to start him in fantasy in one of my leagues. So
I figured he played for the Panthers last year. He's like their leading rusher. So I figured they would try to get him in the end zone if they could. But yeah.
So did you
betting on those?
Did you take Pacers money line or no?
Pacers money line. I had Pacers money line, but I had
you parlayed it with Buddy Hield?
Yeah, I had the Buddy Hield points, man. He missed it by 3 points. Bro, I was on Eaton Shandershaw or Shandershow.
Yeah.
Eaton. Yeah. He's on Odd Shopper. So I was on there just kind of looking around at their picks. And one of the guy, Lindy, he put out Buddy Hield and was talking about how many shots he took the night before, and like that's the play of the night. And so I rode with that, and it burned me. I should have just went with the fucking upset. And then, of course, I just laid, the Magic, and they lose by 1. But luckily, the Deontay Foreman touchdown gets me all my money back. I didn't lose anything, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, I did not have a great night.
Hopefully tonight's better.
I think I went 1-2, 1-3, but the New Mexico loss was wagered higher than
that one hurt.
Yeah, that one was a bad ending to the night. And that one, I was so tired last night at halftime. I just went to bed and I woke up and I was at like 2 a.m. and I was like, let me check this score.
Those are the worst.
Yeah.
Those are the worst.
I lost by 14. I'm like, you bastards.
Because the worst is when, and for me, man, whenever I'm checking those like midnight and like I'm waking up out of my sleep to see if it hit, I never go to the betting app. I always go to like ESPN.
Oh yeah, me too.
First, just see, because I don't even want to.
Because I like to tease. I don't like to see if my money's in the top right corner. I like to see the score first.
Exactly. I want to see how it broke down, how it went down. So yeah, that's exactly where I am. But hopefully it's a lucrative weekend, man. The Eagles aren't playing, so I'm gonna have to find somewhere else on Sunday. But
that's true. Let me just read this to you before we get off here.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, no, that's really good.
What?
St. Mary's lost by 14. They shot 37% from the floor as a team, and they went 8 for 15 from the free throw line. So that's good.
That's your cover.
I mean, cover and then some.
Yeah.
I mean, if we just make half more of our free throws, we're good. So that always makes me in a better mood when I go and check that, But
interesting.
Anyway,
I just saw this post come out maybe the last note on the pod.
Yeah.
We're at like an hour and a half right now, Friday. But looks like there's this article that came out from Michael Scotto about the NBA intel and how the Sixers can trade for OG Anunoby. And it mentions how they can offer up to 3 first-round picks and 4 second-round picks, 3 first-round pick swaps. And they're hoping it's enough for a player the caliber of Drew Holiday. So, interesting.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What's OG's money at right now? Like, does Tobias automatically have to be involved to make the cap work? Or is OG not paid yet and he's like very, very...
I believe OG does not have like he doesn't have like a max
like I think
contract.
this offseason
he's gonna get one.
Yeah, this offseason, but I don't think he's there, right?
So we would be paying him, but Tobias would already be off the books. But I do think the one piece that could make it work without Tobias is probably Marcus Morris.
Well, as much as I want to see Marcus Morris play here, feels so bad too.
I know.
He's so happy to be home. He's going to the Eagles game, talking about how this is great. And
you're going to Canada.
Enjoy your 2 months. Enjoy your 2 months because
you're headed to Canada. You ain't catching no Eagles games up there.
No.
We'll see. Though,
we'll see. Maybe Furcon gets it done. I don't know. Maybe that's what they're advertising him for right now. That's the only explanation
opportunity elsewhere.
Yeah. Anyway, hour and 25 minutes later, guys,
crap.
that is going to wrap up this Friday edition of the Phaithful Phanatics Show. If you guys like the content, if you are new to the channel, if you want to be interactive, this is the best spot to be interactive with us. Better than Facebook, better than Twitter, better than Twitch, better than anywhere. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's free. It's like any other YouTube channel. Subscribe. Help us get to our first goal of 100 subscribers here on the new DSM Philadelphia YouTube channel. We greatly appreciate each and every one of you. For myself, for Scotty, for DSM, have a great rest of your weekend and go Sixers.